Hello to everybody. My name is Tanja Neubüser, and I'm Director of Deutsch-Tansanische Partnerschaft, in short DTP, which means German-Tanzanian Partnership. With the production of this video, I follow the wish of many of our Tanzanian colleagues from the Tanzanian hosting places who would like to know what happens with the volunteers once they return from Tanzania to Germany. You will see talks of 11 former volunteers of different volunteer intakes who lived at different places in Tanzania and volunteered for 12 months at our hosting organizations. They reflect on their lives in Tanzania and share effects which these times had and even still have on their actual lives. I hope you will enjoy the talks, either being a Tanzanian colleague or an interested applicant for volunteering or any other interested person. Karibuni sana.
Habari zenu. Hi, I'm Jona, I'm 25 years old and I live in Ghent, Belgium. I was in Tanzania in 2013-14 where I volunteered with the Tanzania Renewable Energy Office in Mwanza. After that I studied geography in my undergraduate studies at Humboldt University in Berlin. In the course of that, I had the opportunity to come back to East Africa, so I did internships in Kenya and also in Ethiopia in the fields of agroecology, but also again in renewable energies. And since end of last year, I study rural development in Ghent, Belgium.
Hello, my name is Jana. I've been to Tanzania 2013 and 2014, and I've lived in Korogwe and worked for the Talista Foundation. Since I'm back in Germany, I came back 2014. I worked for an organization on voluntary base 1 year more on the Baltic Sea or close to the Baltic Sea, and afterwards I moved to Leipzig and started to study law. And since 2015 I'm still studying law, and hopefully I will finish that soon.
Hello, habari yako na mambo vipi? My name is Thomas Platz and I'm 34 years old. I was in Tanzania during the volunteer program from 2006 to 2007. I had a possibility to join the program directly after my school graduation in Germany. My place of my volunteering work was in the Kashasha Vocational Technology Training Center, next to Bukoba in the northeast of Tanzania. The school was part of the ELCT. It is a boarding school to educate pupils to be carpenter, metalworker and brickworker. The great hospitality, our football games together with the pupils, our teaching of renewable energies and German lessons, our solar village presentations and solar installations, and last but not least, the school choir. In the church, with perfectly played drums, I still feel very good in my heart. After coming home to Germany, it was an ambivalent feeling to be back. On the one hand, I was happy to be with my family again. On the other hand, I missed the Tanzanian people, who helped me to be someone open and friendly and not to be uptight. You can't imagine how crazy it was to travel the first time by train. Everybody was silent. Everybody was hearing with his own earphones. And nobody was talking. It's unfortunately the total different to Tanzanian life. Back in Germany, I started to study mechanical engineering at the Technical University of Dresden. Still, it was my dream to work somehow in the research or development of renewable energies. All the time I was active in the Protestant pupils' work of the church. We organized several summer and autumn trips in the holidays of the pupils to give them the opportunity to go out and to feel how it is to live with God. We experienced a lot of adventures in the mountains or with a canoe on a river. In 2014, my wife and me decided to marry. Our firstborn is Joscha. Now he is 5 years old and he likes to go to kindergarten or to make some adventures with me. Our second born is Ronja. Now she's almost 3 years old. And our third born is Alena. Now she's 7 months old. During this time after my studying, I was working at first as academic staff at the University of Stuttgart about thermal solar energies and seasonal heat storages. After 2 years, I decided to go to an engineering company and I was planning 3 years heating and cooling systems for big buildings. Since 1.5 years, I'm working as test engineer. We are testing the power output of heating elements or cooling ceilings according to the standard specification.
Hey, my name is Miriam Steinmüller and I was a volunteer of the DTP in 2016 and 2017. I lived 1 year in the small city Korogwe in the northern east of Tanzania and worked in the NGO Talista. Talista mainly supports children, mainly most vulnerable children, for example orphans, and they are supporting children's rights and women. After my year in Tanzania, I started my study program. It's called Development Studies of Africa in Geography at the University of Bayreuth. I'm studying this for 4 years now, and Tanzania, or the experience to live in Tanzania, resulted in my decision to start the study program. So without being a volunteer in Tanzania and without living there for such a long time, I wouldn't study this right now.
Habari zenu, jina yangu ni Marvin. I lived from 2011 till 2012 in Mwanza and worked there for the Tanzanian Renewable Energy Association. In Germany, I started to study renewable energies, and back in Mwanza we did some school workshops about solar energy and the climate change, and that was an inspiration for me to do the same in Germany, and I joined some other former volunteers of the DTP, and together we built some small wind turbines at schools together with the pupils. And the knowledge about the wind turbine the other volunteers had from the Mafinga Vocational Training Center, so it's also connected to Tanzania. And by that workshops we wanted to create awareness about climate change and the potential of renewable energies here in Germany, and somehow I continued with that, and I'm still working in the sector of environmental education.
My name is Sophie Kloos and I was working with the Zanzibar Solar Energy Association, SOSEA, in Stonetown in 2009-2010. After returning from Tanzania, I went straight to the Netherlands to study liberal arts and sciences at the Amsterdam University College. That was an interdisciplinary degree in which I focused mainly on sociology and psychology. And later on, I went to London to do a master's degree in sociology, and I had a particular interest in migration studies. Back at the time, I was particularly interested in migration between Germany and Turkey. And so I spent another 2 years in Istanbul, Turkey, to study migration and also Turkish politics. After that, I moved to Brussels in Belgium to first intern and then work as a consultant for the United Nations. That was also on a program that was focused on migration and development, so the nexus between the two. And after that, I took over a charity called Asylos, of which I'm now the executive director, and the charity conducts country of origin information research for asylum seekers. So that means that we do research that is used in decisions to grant asylum seekers refugee status or not, and to show what the human rights situation is like in the countries of origin. I started this job about 4 years ago, and that is still what I'm doing now. though by now the organization has moved to Amsterdam in the Netherlands.
Hello, my name is Aleph Koban, and I've worked in Arusha for an NGO called WOODSTA, Women Development for Science and Technology Association, from 2007 to 2008. So actually it's more than 13 years ago that I arrived in TZ for the first time. And since then it has been a long journey. I came back to Germany and decided to not study engineering, but delve more into the topics of African contexts, African lives. And so I studied a bachelor called African Development Studies in Geography. And after that, I had enough from university. I moved back to my home city Berlin and worked there for a year and did lobbying for the Democratic Republic of Congo, so DRC. And I organized public discussions on development politics. After that year, I went back to the university in another city and did my master's in geographies of globalization. So my aim was to broaden my geographic focus and go away a bit from my Africa focus. But I gained the possibility to do a PhD and do research in Nairobi, so I went back to East Africa. And that's what I did and still do since 6 years. I lived and worked in Nairobi to study the working conditions of technology developers. So of the people who are engineers, startups, software coders who develop apps, but also innovative water pumps, etc.
Let's start. Hi, my name is Darius, and I really don't like to be on camera, but for now and for the special time, I think it will be okay. So I have lived in Kalali in Machame between August 2016 and August 2017. And I worked there at the High Institute of Technology in Bomanyombe. In between, I also spent a while in Dar es Salaam, where I was working for the Forum CC, but just for a couple of weeks till I returned to Kalali. And currently, I'm living in Frankfurt, and of course, a lot of stuff has changed for me since I came back to Germany, and of course, there's a lot of stuff to tell, but to sum up in a specific few, my interests and my thoughts for cultural processes in different societies, in politics and economics, and the problems they cause were like intensified since I came back, and so I started to study. For now, I'm studying philosophy, sociology, political science, and history to be able to understand at least a small part of what's happening in this beautiful world and why there is so much evil shit like capitalism causing social and cultural injustice, structural domination and force, and ecological crisis. And it's a privilege to study, and but sometimes it's hard. And after 3 years of studying, I still don't know if I will ever be able to really know something. But I think that's a whole nother issue.
Hello, my name is Sarah, and from 2013 to 2014 I lived in Dodoma, Tanzania, and worked for Dodoma Environmental Network, a local NGO working for environmental protection. And we as volunteers, we mostly worked for establishing environmental clubs at primary schools together with our Tanzanian colleagues. Yes, so after my year in Tanzania, which was full of a lot of impressions, I studied environmental science because I'm very concerned about environmental protection and climate change, and I wanted to study something related to this topic. And then I found my passion in water, because water is the source of all life, and there are a lot of challenges regarding water, and that's why I studied water management. And now, since a month, I work at the university as a researcher. And my research topic tries to gain knowledge about how important water from mountain regions is as water resource for the irrigation of agriculture in the lowlands, especially in light of climate change and population growth.
Hello, habari zenu. My name is Fieke, and I worked in Dodoma for 1 year from 2018 to 2019. I worked with a local NGO, which was then called Sharing Worlds Tanzania, and now it is called Action for Community Care. After coming back from Tanzania, I started university in the beautiful city of Lüneburg, south of Hamburg, and I'm studying global environmental and sustainability studies in my bachelor with a minor in economics. I'm in my 3rd semester now, and so far I'm enjoying it a lot.
I really like to remember sitting in front of the Duka, the small shop in our neighborhood. That was something like a meeting point. And there the kids taught me Swahili, and we also played checkers, and they were very good at this game, better than me. And also I had a lot of conversations with my neighbors and especially with my host family, and I have really good and heartwarming memories with the time with my host family, because they welcomed me very much.
One of the most important things during my time in Tanzania was, for me personally, the time when I started to talk Kiswahili in a way that I could really communicate with the people in my environment. For example, my host mother, who wasn't able to speak English, so because of that, it was difficult for me in the beginning to communicate with her or get to know her, because we couldn't communicate in one language. I couldn't speak Swahili at the beginning, she couldn't speak English. So in the beginning of January, I think, or maybe December, we started to have little conversations in the evening when it was already dark and we were sitting outside, just talking about what I did at this day, or what were my experiences at work or with friends, with Tanzanian people, something like that. And this was the beginning of the friendship or the connection between my host mother and me. So this was really important for me, that I learned the language, that I learned Kiswahili to communicate with people around me.
A great moment during the time I lived in Tanzania was to help our hospital in Kashasha to have solar light. Up to this time, birth and other necessary works during the nighttime was done with a petroleum light. It was also great to see how a voiceless couple manage their life and raise their children with the help of the community and the village, Kashasha.
One moment I remember in Tanzania very well was the first time that me and my co-volunteer went to the countryside, to the Shamba, which was after 3 weeks in Tanzania. And firstly, I remember that there were a lot of huge baobab trees, which I loved because they look so majestic. But also I remember that we just wanted to go for a small walk in the village, the two of us. And after a couple of minutes we were surrounded by around 30 children who walked after us the whole time. And I was very overwhelmed by the situation and didn't know how to react.
I have many very nice and heartwarming memories from my time in Tanzania, especially from my time with my host family. But one story I remember is that we always used to watch the series that was shown at 9 p.m. on StarTime's Swahili channel. and we would always discuss it and comment on the different episodes, and I enjoyed that a lot, and it made me connect with my little host siblings, my host mama and our dada.
When I think about my time in Tanzania, I like remembering the night fishing trips we did with the fishermen there. So we went out at night in order to fish dagar on Lake Victoria, and we tried to promote and also to test solar-powered fishing lanterns in order to replace the kerosene-powered lanterns. So that was on the one hand very exciting, but it was also teaching me a lot, and I really like remembering the sunrise on Lake Victoria early in the morning.
The year in Tanzania left a lot of memories, and yeah, maybe one memory I can share, and then I can tell what else is still in my daily life since I am in Tanzania. One of my most favorite memories is to watch the sky in the evening with my host brother and my host sister. And see all the stars at night. I really love that.
A story from my year in Tanzania that I do think back of quite frequently is when we had a power cut on Zanzibar, which ended up lasting 3 months in total. And I've been thinking about that recently because the situation had some similarities to the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, in that it required everyone to completely improvise and partially also to rethink their business ideas. And I do remember that we at Sazea, we started offering a station to charge mobile phones for passers-by, and that was by using solar energy. And that was hugely popular. So all of a sudden, we had a lot of people stopping by our office because they saw the sign that we were charging mobile phones for free.
Yeah, one aspect of my life in Arusha that characterized 2007 was my various visits to cyber cafes, internet cafes. At that time, it was unimaginable for me to have a mobile phone with internet, like a smartphone, or even more crazy, to have internet at home, be it through a flash disk or through Wi-Fi devices. So in this year, I had a laptop without internet, and I prepared all my emails to my family and friends abroad over a week, and I really careful wrote everything, and then I gave myself a treat, and once a week I went into the internet cafe and could send every message to the outer world. But it was not also only important for me to have contact to others, but also for the surrounding Tanzanians. They went to the internet cafe, and it was a highlight. And actually that's the place where I met my still best friend in Tanzania, Alidi or Khalid.
The year really had its influence on me because without being in Tanzania, I wouldn't study development studies of Africa and geography now. It's a very small study program, and without Tanzania, I haven't been able to decide about studying African-related study program. It's a small one, a special one, so without the connection to Tanzania or my experiences there, I wouldn't study this right now, and I'm very confident with this decision. So I think besides all the experience and besides all the people which I got to know, besides that, it was a thing which changed my life, kind of, and it was very important to me, and is still very important, and it has still an influence on me. So it's mainly positive.
Hey everyone, my name is Ole, and I'm sending you this video from Germany's capital, Berlin. It's actually more than 10 years ago that I had the amazing opportunity to spend a full year in Tanzania right after my school. It all started with an excellent preparation by the German-Tanzanian partnership. And then I was super excited to leave Germany in August 2009. First to Dar es Salaam, and then for a long bus ride all the way up to the north of Tanzania, to the place where I would spend the next 12 months. Yeah, it turned out that place called Woki, close to the Lake Victoria, was quite a tiny and remote village, for example, even without electricity. In Woki, the French organization Partage, that was the host organization, runs a vocational training center. And I used to live on campus, so to say, together with quite some of the students. And we worked on different projects related to renewable energies, like biogas plant, different clay stoves, and small solar lamps. One situation I will probably never forget in my life was the first time I got to the village. Alfred, our contact person at Partage, took us there in his pickup truck, and he stopped at a road sign saying Woki. And he said, well, guys, this is where the village starts. And do you see the sign in the back there? That's where it ends. Yeah, I was born and grew up in Hamburg, one of the bigger cities in Germany. So you can imagine how different my life in Woki, such a small and remote village without electricity, was compared to my life in Hamburg. But these obvious differences are only the more obvious reasons why this was such a life-changing experience for me. And it was life-changing on many different levels. And yeah, it might sound cheesy, but I guess I can say that this year in Tanzania made me a much more open-minded, much more conscious and active global citizen. It was the good and also the more challenging experiences, but especially the personal interaction with my colleagues, the students, my friends in Woki, that really shaped my time in Tanzania, that in the end shaped me as a person. One of the drastic consequences was that back then I decided to dedicate more of my life to renewable energies. So when I was back in Germany, I studied mechanical engineering, focused on renewable energy systems, and also focused on international and intercultural project management. During these studies, and until today, I still draw on lessons from my time in Tanzania. And as I said, it's more than 10 years ago, so I guess it's only fair to say that it was quite a life-changing experience for me. Today, I work as a consulting engineer in the context of the energy transition, and I try to contribute my personal part to a more sustainable, more green and just future. So the impact of my time in Tanzania still continues till today. It's difficult for me to put in words how grateful I am for the opportunity I had and the time I spent in Tanzania. So, asante sana.
The year in Tanzania has left a number of traces on me and my personal life. One thing is that I always try to focus more on what is going well in my life than what is not, and appreciate all the chances that I've gotten and that I'm still getting. It has also made me more critical, or think more critically about how countries like Tanzania or other countries of the global south are portrayed in the media, for example, or the common perception. And the year has also made me more interested in topics like climate justice and the dynamics of development aid, always with the question about how we together can make a more equal dialogue between countries of this world possible. I am very grateful for this year, and I expect it to have many more effects on my life as I grow older. And asante sana.
What's still in my daily life is that I still have contact to a lot of people that I've done my voluntary year with. So some of the people from the DTP group, they are still close friends of mine. And also I'm still in contact with my host family. I've visited them twice since I'm back, the last time in 2020 in February. Yeah, that's very nice to have them still in my life.
The experience to live in Tanzania affected my way of living and affected until now. Since then, I try to live a humble life and try to reduce my negative effects on the environment and also on other people. And the memories are also motivation to me to engage myself in social movements and try to make this world a better place.
Yeah, and the year in Tanzania has left a lot of impressions in my way of thinking, and I gained a new perspective on a lot of things and broadened my horizon. For example, nowadays when people make generalizations about Africa, for example, a friend telling me, hey, I went to an African restaurant on the weekend, I always ask like, but from which country, what kind of food did you get there? Because I learned that Africa is a very diverse continent and has a lot to offer, and I try to pass that on to other people I know. And also, due to my year in Tanzania, my year in Tanzania made me aware of issues like racism and privileges, which I did not consider before, and which are also often forgotten in our daily lives back in Germany. And therefore, my year in Tanzania also definitely contributed to that I'm now a strong advocate of a more humane migration policy in the European Union, and I raise my voice against inhumane actions at the European borders and racism within Europe.
This time in Tanzania gives me a diversified view of the world. Now I know, for example, how poor people need to struggle and to survive, and to feed their children. I know the people have nevertheless a great life spirit, and lots of them believe in God. I learned to appreciate a good school education. This is one of the key functions in a country to get economic wealth and autonomous people. It was also great for me to see that it is possible to learn a foreign language in 1 year. It is very important for my attitude to life to know life is possible and feels even better with less prosperity and the confidence God is helping me. I can be humble and very happy about that what I have.
The year in Tanzania has left a number of traces, most notably professionally. I've been quite inspired by, first of all, the cultural experience of living in Tanzania, getting to know different culture, really diving in and learning the local language as well, but also my involvement with the German-Tanzanian partnership. After the year in Tanzania, I was quite involved as a board member and hosting different seminars for the new cohorts, so Swahili language classes, for example. And my current job, I find, combines both aspects in that what we do is researching different cultures, but we do that by coordinating a network of about 100 volunteers who live in the countries of origin and who speak the relevant languages. And so I find myself still looking towards other cultures in my job and trying to find out and understand what is going on there. But also I am coordinating a lot of young people, hosting seminars, and using a lot of skills that I learned in the context of working with the German-Tanzanian partnership.
Yeah, and last but not least, the effects this year had on me and my life are uncountable, actually. Look at my CV and my profession now. I never lost interest in African politics, in the life and in various African contexts. It was the year where I learned unconditional solidarity. So I learned that although you're not wealthy or well off, you can do everything and anything to help and support others. Yeah, and I learned that daily life in Tanzania is not different than daily life in Germany. People talk about work, they talk about good food, they talk about love, about broken hearts, and they care about their dearest. So I learned that humans are all the same, regardless of their outer appearance, of their disabilities or abilities, of their gender, of their sexuality. But then I also realized, no, humans are not the same, or better, they are not treated the same. Wealth, privileges, and social security are not equally distributed over the world. And that's maybe the biggest effect that this year in Tanzania had on me and my life. I still fight against prejudices supporting racism, and I call on white people to reflect their privileges and become more self-reflexive in our unequal world.
Well, even if I'm expected to tell like a detail or a story from my time back in the days, I won't, even if there are thousands of stories I could tell, because after this time, what really remains is more of a feeling. It's like a feeling that is made up of these countless feelings that I was able to live through this year, and feelings that my mother gave me there, and my two brothers, and my friends, and my colleagues from work, and people I met random on the streets or in bars or in dancing in clubs, and people who have a firm place in my memories, in my heart, who I love, and because they showed me so much love and understanding and acceptance for my personal way of living, and at the same time, the other way around, they open up their very own way of living individually for me. And all of them showed me that there is so much that I don't know and will never know, but still can understand, because behind these cultural and social and individual differences is like an unmatchable amount of human similarities. And it's like they broke down walls in my mind, which gave me a bigger perspective on living, and a perspective that is free from certain notions of the right way to live that I've learned in my childhood or something, which gives me the strength until now to go my own way, as far as possible, of course. But yeah. So that's it. I wish you all the best and hope you enjoyed it. Bye.